Designated a National Historic Landmark in 1961, the entire community of Deadwood is alive and vibrant with historic character over 125 years in the making. Since its founding in 1876, Deadwood has been synonymous with the Wild West. From its early days as a lawless gold camp to its transformation into a model Victorian community and a modern center for commerce and entertainment, the town has always had a legendary reputation unparalleled in the American West. Deadwood's birth was sudden. Thousands of faceless miners, mule skinners, lawmen, gunslingers, and gamblers descended upon this narrow and rocky canyon in the Black Hills of Dakota Territory in 1876. They prospected, opened shops, built houses, drank, bet it all, lost fortunes, and gained riches beyond their wildest dreams. It was America's last great gold rush. Legends were made almost overnight with a lucky shovelful of earth or turn of a card, but they were just as easily lost with a well-placed bullet. Wild Bill Hickok, frontier gunfighter, came to Deadwood with other 76ers to seek his fortune. Thanks to a pistol shot to the back of his head, he never left. He sleeps on a hill overlooking the gulch to this day, next to the graves of Calamity Jane, Seth Bullock, Potato Creek Johnny, Preacher Smith, and hundreds of Deadwood's other legendary denizens. But as the legends passed on, so did the gold. The ancient mansions, grand stone balconies, and elegant brick facades began to decay. Deadwood seemed destined to turn into a ghost town, fading slowly into history, like so many of its famous residents had done long ago. The event that made the residents of Deadwood say no more to their dying town took place on December 8, 1987, when the Syndicate Block building caught fire. The town's infrastructure had decayed so badly that the attempts at fighting the fire were futile. The water pressure could not reach more than 10 feet in the air, and the city lost one of its most precious landmarks. To alleviate Deadwood's decay and preserve its architecture, 7 local Deadwood residents formed the You Bet Committee to explore gaming options for marketing and historic preservation needs. After crossing the state hundreds of times, the members were able to get the initiative on the ballot in 1988. And the voters of South Dakota overwhelmingly said yes to Deadwood. The late Governor George S. Mickelson made sure that South Dakota's newest industry would be run with tight restrictions and overseen by an appointed gaming commission.
I got a call from the governor, and he asked if I would serve on the gaming commission. And I said, sure, if it would help. And he said he wanted to make me chairman, and he said, I'm only going to give you one marching order, and that's to keep it squeaky clean. And I said, yes, sir, and off we went.
After a year of putting all the gaming laws, rules, and regulations together, Deadwood believed it was ready for its first day of legalized gaming. So on November 1st, 1989, the casinos opened to a fanfare of celebrations. However, Deadwood was not ready for the popularity of gaming.
When gaming began on November 1st of 1989, I don't think anybody really realized the scope and the extent to which it would affect the community. And having been a small town of about 2,000 people, deeply in debt and with infrastructure that was in very serious deteriorated condition, we weren't staffed with building inspectors or planning and zoning people. We did not have an adequate police force in place. We had a lot of things to take care of in the first few months after gaming started.
This was a challenge that Deadwood met head-on, and soon the newest industry in Deadwood was running smooth and efficiently. Deadwood ran so smoothly that in 2000, the people of South Dakota approved a measure to raise the bet limits from $5 to $100. As Deadwood celebrates 20 years of gaming, it's also a celebration of 20 years of a small gulch town's transformation. The town has been designated one of the prettiest painted places, as well as other national preservation awards. Deadwood has worked hard to preserve the history and lore of the 1876 town while meeting the needs of millions of visitors each year.
The Historic Preservation Office and the Historic Preservation Commission use the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation. Within that, we also recognize the need for making sure that buildings are safe for visitors. The historic preservation ethics and integrity are not sacrificed for life safety or vice versa. It's pretty compatible. There may be a need where the door swings out instead of in, where traditionally, but the look of the facade still is maintained.
As gaming expanded to other neighboring states, Deadwood needed to stay competitive with their marketing efforts. Deadwood and the State Department of Tourism have worked harmoniously in co-op advertising to keep tourism a $1 billion industry in South Dakota. One of Deadwood's own marketing strategies was putting on a number of award-winning events, such as the Days of 76 Parade and Rodeo, a 9-time Rodeo of the Year recipient. Wild Bill Days attracts the world's best fast draw competitors and top-rated country bands. Cool Deadwood Nights has become one of the finest classic car shows in the United States, along with being Deadwood's largest event. With the efforts of Deadwood and the state of South Dakota, $1.1 billion was wagered in Deadwood in 2008, helping greatly to keep tourism the #2 industry in the state. Deadwood is proud of the work it continues to do to preserve its town and provide tax revenue to the state tourism budget. But most importantly, it is proud of its preservation efforts across all of South Dakota.
Through our Historic Preservation Commission, we've set aside $250,000 a year out of our annual budget to provide grants to communities across the state that have a relationship to Deadwood's history. Over the past several years, we've contributed over $2 million to preservation projects around the state, both East and West River. There's also $100,000 a year given out through the State Historic Preservation Office and South Dakota State Historical Society for preservation projects. So if you look at that, there's a total of $350,000 a year that are given out to historic preservation projects outside of Deadwood,
such as the Cultural Heritage Center in Pierre for historic photo digitization, or the Mitchell Prehistoric Indian Village, where funds helped them produce a new exhibit on the journey of discovery. The Kramer Canyon Heritage Home was awarded funds to do a window restoration project. Since 1989, there have been hundreds of projects, and Deadwood Historic Preservation looks to another 20 years of preserving our state's historic structures and history. Deadwood gaming revenue isn't affecting just historic preservation.
But nearly $100 million of Deadwood gaming taxes have gone into our general fund to support all kinds of programs, from Medicaid to agriculture, you name it, programs that are important to our state. Deadwood gaming helps those programs as well as tourism.
Deadwood needs to be able to continue its statewide preservation efforts and state sales tax contributions. However, with increases in taxes on gaming devices, the smoking ban, and increased competition from neighboring states and Indian gaming, Deadwood will need help from our elected state officials to ensure the viability Deadwood has contributed the last 20 years.
We need to make sure that we put in place the tools and the legislative abilities for this great historic city to remain its preservation effort across the state and to attract the kind of tourism interest that it has for the last 20 years.
From almost extinction to very high distinction, Deadwood is poised to move forward another 20 years with a resource that is more precious than gold. And that's the people that serve the almost 2 million visitors that visit our gulch each year. Without the gaming industry and the employees on Deadwood's front line, many historic South Dakota landmarks would not be back to their original grandeur, and the gulch town of Deadwood may have been just another Black Hills ghost town. Thanks to gaming and historic preservation, Deadwood and many communities across South Dakota have been and will be preserved. So here's to many more anniversaries through the marriage of gaming and historic preservation.